Let's discuss properties and changes in matter. By the end of the video, you should be able to differentiate between chemical and physical changes. So to start, a physical property or change is characteristics that don't change what the substance is. Its name and its properties are generally the same. So no new substance is produced. In these type of examples, we have like density. If you identify something's density, you haven't changed what it is. I can say water is density of 1 without changing it. Crushing it, so if you have like a medicine tablet and you crush it, it will still work, right? Because it's just going to increase the surface area, but the number of particles and what the particles are the same. Solubility, if I dissolve something, all I have to do is evaporate the water back off and it will be the same substance. If you just check to see if it's conductive, it will still stay the wire, right? It won't change into a new substance. It will conduct electricity by still saying, for example, copper wire the whole time. Anything with phase changes, including melting and boiling point, is just separating the particles or putting them closer together. It doesn't change what the particles are. So during a phase change or a physical change, the particles don't change, they're just moving apart or getting closer together. As you can see, A being a solid and C being maybe a gas, it's the same substance. They're still blue circles and they're just farther apart or closer together. So the signs of a physical property or change is that it's going to be the same substance, just maybe change SL or G, solid, liquid, or gas. And the words to look for are that it dissolves, it has a phase change, it melts or boils, it's a solid, a liquid, or gas. Things where you know that it's remaining the same, although you can identify that property or identify that change. Whereas chemical properties include things that have a new substance being made. For example, reactivity of something. So this reacted with this and it turned into a new substance. Flammability, meaning that I'm going to light it on fire and now it's going to be ashes, right? A new substance. Corrosive is a fancy word for very reactive, or that it's bubbling to form a new substance. Not boiling, but bubbling to make new bubbles, right? Bubbles that weren't there before. So maybe bubbling from not heating, right? So new substances are formed during the chemical change. For example, if CO2 broke into C's and O's separate, those are all different new substances. The carbon dioxide was carbon with 2 O's, and now it broken down. Now carbon's all alone like coal, and oxygen's breathable, right? So they have new properties. Or like if you have hydrogens that are really flammable with oxygens that are gonna fuel that fire, but then you put them together, you might form water particles, and the water particles would turn off the fire, right? So you have new properties. That's a chemical change. And the signs of a chemical change is specifically that a new substance with new name and new different properties than its original parts. So words to look for are as reacts with, for example, reacts with water, reacts with acid, combusts, which is a fancy word for burns, or corrodes, which is a fancy word for rusts, like you see on the right. So rusting iron would be a chemical change. Dissolving in water is reversible. I can undo that. So that's a physical change. I just separate the water back out. Burning a log is chemical change because it's going to turn into a new substance. Crushing a compound is only physical. So just to reiterate, chemical changes happen when the compounds form or break down by changing of bonds between them. And then physical changes are probably phase changes or mixtures created or separated by changing the forces between them. So chemical changes go with bonds and physical changes go with forces. At this point, you should be able to differentiate between physical and chemical changes and properties.